The story begins in 1693, deep in the forests of France's Lorraine province, where severed hands hang from trees and a coven of witches dances wildly around a blazing bonfire. Their leader, the witch Nagasoth, stood watching with her cat in her arms. Nearby, Bishop Grogan was tied to a tree, regretting that he had not slain Naga earlier. At her command, the cult prepared to torture Grogan using her enchanted board. Just as they were about to cut off his hands, Grogan's loyal men burst in to rescue him. He ordered them to kill and burn the witches. As Naga reached for her board to strike back, Grogan struck her first, splattering her blood across the board. Centuries later, at the Natural History Museum in New Orleans, two thieves break into the exhibit holding the witch's board. When they shatter the glass, alarms blare. Yet Labarge recklessly grabs for more, while Booker points his gun and urges him to flee. Labarge hits him and takes the board along with other artifacts. Wounded but determined, Labarge escapes with the cursed relic. The next morning, in a sunlit field, Emily picks mushrooms while her fiancé Christian arrives and playfully smells the fresh pick. Together with his colleagues, they are preparing to open Christian's new restaurant. As he takes a phone call, Emily keeps gathering mushrooms for the menu. But she hears a strange sound from the woods and, curious, ventures deeper.
Did you hear something funny? Hello? Is anyone there?
There she discovers a rare mushroom she has never seen before and a cat sitting on a bag. Inside the bag lies the stolen witch's board. When Christian joins her, Emily shows him the find. Believing it to be a beautiful antique perfect for the restaurant decor, she convinces Christian to keep it, and he quietly slips it into his bag. Elsewhere, Booker tends to his wounds at their boss's hideout. Their leader, Alexander, the mastermind behind the theft, assumes Labarge is dead. Using a pendulum to trace the board's location, he coldly bids farewell to Booker.
Nonsense.
In New Orleans, Christian and his team host a lively party on the eve of their restaurant's grand opening, laying out dishes for the arriving guests. When Richie calls him over to pry open the fireplace chimney, Christian mentions that the building is more than 100 years old. Later, as Christian stands with Emily, they spot Brooke, Christian's ex, arriving at the party. It turns out Richie invited him, hoping to get closer to the now single Brooke. Richie greets him with a hug, followed by Emily and Christian. Brooke now works with an archaeological research group in Malta, funded by the Vatican. He earned the position through his thesis on shamanistic traditions. While chatting, Christian discusses his plans to take his relationship with Emily to the next level, but Emily accidentally misplaces their engagement ring. When Richie calls her away for help, Brooke quietly asks Christian about rumors that Emily recently left rehab. Christian falls silent as if confirming it. Then Emily returns and invites Brooke to see something. Because of his expertise with antiques, she shows him the old Witchboard she discovered and explains that she has been trying to decipher its symbols. Brooke estimates the board is about a century old, a pendulum board once used to summon spirits, where symbols carry hidden meanings. He tells Emily to clear her mind before using it and to feel whatever surfaces from the subconscious as the pendulum swings. Meanwhile, Richie whispers to Christian that the board gives off a negative aura. Ignoring the warning, Emily tries it herself, using her necklace as a pendulum and asking if their restaurant will succeed. The pendulum wavers uncertainly. Brooke suggests she ask another question. So Emily asks if she and Christian will be married at St. Vincent's. Again, the pendulum gives no answer. Everyone grows uneasy as Richie declares the object cursed. Brooke solemnly calls it what it is, a spirit board. The next day, while Christian's team renovates the restaurant, Emily stays in her room examining the spirit board. She notices that the eye at its center shifts when touched and can be removed, revealing a hidden pendulum. At the same time, she sees a news report about an antique game board stolen from the Natural History Museum. A scientist confirms it was used to summon spirits. Curious, Emily uses the board again with the pendulum she found. Testing its power, she asks about the location of her missing engagement ring. The pendulum points east. Emily follows its direction to her bedroom.
This way?
In the kitchen, as Richie cooks, his dish suddenly catches fire on the stove. He quickly turns it off and moves it away. A cat slips in through the window. Without warning, the meat slicer switches on by itself. When Richie tries to pull it away, he slips, and his hand is severed by the blade.
Open your eyes. My fucking hand! I can sew it back on, right?
As Christian reaches under the table for Richie's severed hand, the cat snatches it and runs. Christian chases it outside. Emily appears and tells Christian that she has found her ring, but he explains that an accident has happened. Neither of them notices the cat devouring Richie's hand. When Christian returns, Zach informs him that Richie is bleeding heavily and cannot be saved. Everyone is shocked and devastated by his death. The next day, at Richie's funeral in a church, Christian appears deeply shaken as the loss weighs heavily. When Emily steps out to the restroom, she's approached by her ex, Jesse, a former dealer, who offers his condolences in a soft voice, which makes her uncomfortable. Seeing them together, Christian rushes over, confronting Jesse and forcing him to leave, while warning him to stay away from Emily. And after the threat, Jesse finally backs off, although Emily becomes angry at Christian for his harshness.
It took you 9 months to get off the shit he was selling you. We're not letting that happen ever again.
That night, Emily tells Christian that a food critic will attend the restaurant's opening. At that moment, the same cat that stole Richie's hand, startling her before she realizes it is the same one she once saw in the woods. She explains this to Christian and says she wants to keep it, while Christian hesitates but eventually allows her to keep it because the animal led her to her lost ring, and he warns her to release it if it causes trouble. Emily then reveals that the spirit board helped her find the ring, yet Christian asks her not to use it again until they know more about its power, and she quietly agrees. Later that night, Christian begins researching the board online, scrolling through articles until he finds reports of a murder in Chicago linked to a similar board, and also news about 2 police officers killed on the night the antique was stolen, which deepens his concern. Meanwhile, in the bedroom, the board moves on its own while Emily sleeps. She becomes restless before drifting into a strange dream that feels like a vision. When she wakes, Emily finds herself in another place, where severed hands hang from trees and people dance in the forest, while a witch watches her from the shadows, and her fear rises until she screams. Hearing her cries, Christian rushes in, and she explains what she just experienced, but Christian suspects she is using drugs again, and his doubt angers her deeply. Trying to calm the situation, Christian urges Emily to stop using the board, telling her about the cases he has found online. Emily says she already knows about the theft, but argues they can't be sure it's the same board. And although Christian wants to return it to the authorities, she refuses because of her own criminal record, fearing it will cause them trouble. In the end, Christian calms her down and quietly takes the board out of the room, determined to keep it away from her for the night. The next day, Christian meets Brooke and explains that Emily has been obsessed with the spirit board since the restaurant party. Brooke says he has spoken to a friend who knows ancient Wiccan practices and invites Christian to a gathering that afternoon. Unbeknownst to them, Alexander's followers are eavesdropping. Back at the house, the board stirs on its own while Emily showers. She can't open the bathroom door and glimpses a shadowy figure entering the house. A mysterious woman appears, and Emily is suddenly drawn into the past.
Est-ce que vous allez bien?
Watching the same woman speak with Nagasoth, thanking her for healing her mother. When horsemen arrive, Naga tells the woman to escape through the back door. Bishop Grogan bursts in, scatters Naga's healing herbs, and orders his men to tie her. He accuses her of witchcraft, claiming her beauty is a spell to lure men, and strikes her while calling her a servant of the devil. Grogan drags Naga outside and tells the villagers he will exile her and burn her at the stake if she returns. They pelt her with stones as the sky rumbles. Wrongly accused, Naga vows to truly become a witch and one day cut off Grogan's hand for wounding her. Then, Emily snaps back to consciousness in the bathroom, shaken by the vision.
Meanwhile, Brooke takes Christian to his friend's gathering of people versed in magic. Before entering, he asks Christian not to judge what he sees. Inside, they are greeted by Alexander, who is hosting a summer solstice celebration he calls a fertility festival, and claims the universe guided Christian to attend.
We've missed you.
You guys are triplets?
Enjoy yourself.
He introduces them to the triplets and remarks that Brooke and Christian seem well matched, but Christian insists they are only friends. As Alexander places a hand on Christian's shoulder, Christian suddenly hallucinates an intimate scene with Brooke, until Brooke shakes him back to reality. Alexander then asks about Emily and warns that possession of the Witchboard carries the risk of being burned at the stake. He wants to know where she obtained it, but Christian pretends ignorance. Back at the house, Jesse phones Emily, hinting he knows what she craves, but she angrily hangs up and stares at the board. Back in Alexander's home, Brooke sketches the board to show him. Alexander says it is no ordinary artifact and that Emily's life is in danger. He recounts how in the 1600s, a woman accused of witchcraft, exiled from her town, formed a cult and called herself Nagasoth, the Unforgiven One, and used a pendulum board to curse villagers into madness and murder. Christian insists they were not the ones who stole the board from the museum. Alexander reveals that his great-grandfather was Bishop Grogan, who hunted Nagasoth and paid for it with his life, and he now vows to help Emily. Christian returns to the restaurant calling for Emily, but gets no answer. He sees the pendulum on the spirit board moving by itself until Emily appears behind him, hugging him and claiming she knows he has been with Brooke. Shocked, Christian denies any affair, but Emily undresses and seduces him. When he asks if she is on drugs, she replies that Jesse will never bother her again, and they begin to make love.
Did Jesse hook you up?
The board told me Jesse will never bother me again.
Meanwhile, Jesse meets a group of buyers and is introduced to Tina, who is high at her birthday party. The witch's cat appears, watching him. Jesse shoos it away and gives Tina the drugs, but as he prepares to inject her, the cat leaps at him, causing him to stab himself with the needle and stumble off the building to his death. Back in the candlelit bedroom, Emily regains awareness after Jesse's death, feeling ashamed of being intimate with Christian before marriage. He comforts her and becomes even more convinced that the spirit board is behind everything happening to them. The next morning, Christian brings Brooke and Alexander to meet Emily. Alexander strokes the witch's cat that lingers nearby as Brooke introduces him to her. Promising to help free Emily from the board's influence, Alexander asks them to turn off all phones, televisions, and radios before beginning. He has Emily focus on the pendulum and listen only to his voice as he counts her into a trance. Through hypnosis, she witnesses Bishop Grogan opening Nagasoth's cell and demanding she reveal how the board works or be killed. Nagasoth pulls a pendulum made from her own finger bone and chants over it, the movement connecting to the present moment.
What's going on with her? Make it stop!
Alexander then snaps Emily back to consciousness. She seems changed, no longer herself, but he declares the ritual a success. Emily hands the board to him, saying she no longer needs it. Christian thanks Alexander, who vows to return the board to its rightful place. After Alexander leaves, Christian asks why Emily now calls the opening a banquet, but she stays silent, holding the cat. In the past, Nagasoth regains consciousness, yet it is actually Emily inside her body. Alexander has switched Emily's place with Nagasoth. Looking into the water, she realizes she is trapped in Naga's form. Bishop Grogan arrives, strikes her, and prepares to take her to the stake. As they leave, an old woman in the next cell speaks to her, surprised that Naga is speaking English. She quickly understands that Nagasoth has succeeded in exchanging bodies. Back in the present, Nagasoth inside Emily's body goes into the forest and plucks a red mushroom from Labarge's corpse. She returns to the restaurant, preparing for its opening that night, and orders Chef Sierra to use the mushroom in the evening's dishes. Soon the guests begin to arrive. Christian notices the famous critic William among them, while Emily, wearing a revealing gown, greets him warmly. Alexander also appears, greeted by Brooke, and sits nearby, telling him he will be leaving the country that night. In the kitchen, the special mushroom dish is ready, and Emily carries it out as the appetizer, but she suddenly feels dizzy. Alexander asks what is wrong and realizes that Nagasoth in Emily's body is reliving the public humiliation she once suffered. He urges her to embrace her vengeance. Regaining her rage, she serves the appetizer to William, who tastes it first, and then the dish is distributed to the other tables. As Brooke prepares to eat, Alexander warns him off because of his mushroom allergy. A female guest enjoys the dish so much her partner starts to feel overheated, while other guests begin sweating too. When Zach brings drinks, the woman orders more and gropes him, laughing off her protesting boyfriend. The main course is soon ready, as Chef Sierra feels unwell from sampling the appetizer, and Zach delivers more plates to the tables. The intoxicated woman kisses him, causing tension with her boyfriend. Meanwhile, the witch's cat slips quietly into the kitchen. Emily presents the main course to William, who praises the bold flavor of the appetizer. She lifts the cover of the main dish, and William recoils in shock when he sees that it is Richie's severed hand. In the kitchen, Christian finds Chef Sierra laughing to herself and mocking his face, and he tries to calm her down.
What's wrong with your face? What's wrong with your face? What's wrong? What's wrong with you? What's wrong?
Come help me!
What's wrong? No,
Calm down, it's okay.
Outside, the guests show the same strange behavior as Sierra, while Zach and Jackie notice something is wrong. Nagasoth chants a spell that drives the crowd into a frenzy, and they begin attacking each other. Brooke panics and tries to run, but William blocks him, only to be killed by Alexander, allowing Brooke to escape. Christian sees Alexander taking Emily, but cannot open the kitchen door because of the bodies piled against it. When he finally pushes through, William attacks him, and Christian stabs him just as the police arrive. Alexander hustles Emily into his car, while the officers, thinking Christian caused the massacre, open fire, forcing him to run. Cornered, he is saved when Brooke pulls up and urges him into the car. As they drive off, Christian demands to go after Alexander, but Brooke says Alex is leaving the country tonight. Christian insists Brooke take him to Alex's house immediately. Brooke tells him to stay hidden. After Brooke goes inside, Alexander's men knock Christian unconscious. He wakes tied to a chair and demands to know where Emily is. Alexander answers that she is where she belongs and explains that Nagasoth must repeat her vengeance to be fully reborn. He intends to rule over her power just as his ancestor once did, claiming he gave Nagasoth a new body, so she must now serve him. In the past, Emily, trapped in Nagasoth's body, is tied to the stake and pleads for mercy, but Bishop Grogan shows none. Back in the present, Alexander reveals that the woman Christian saw in the news was a witch descended from Nagasoth, and her child placed in an orphanage was Emily, herself making her part of the cursed bloodline. Emily enters with her eyes covered, the spirit of Nagasoth in her body kissing Christian. Realizing it is not Emily, he fights Alexander's followers and aims a weapon at her, believing killing the witch inside Emily might end the curse. Alexander taunts him, dressing as Bishop Grogan and ordering Nagasoth to look at him. Seeing his lineage, Nagasoth turns on Alexander while Christian burns the Witchboard. The scene shifts between past and present as villagers cannot burn Nagasoth because of her power, and Grogan prepares to behead her. In the present, Alexander shoots Christian and seizes the board, but Christian manages one last act as Emily regains control and aims a gun at Alexander. He raises his hands in surrender, but Emily no longer trusts him. Blood splashes onto the board as she rushes to Christian, who weakly gives him his cross and tells him he will always be with her, before dying in Brooke's arms. Police arrive to rescue them, while the witch's cat slips away.
Guy owned this whole place, and the last thing that went through his mind was a 9mm slug.